Hello friends, welcome again to my YouTube channel where I share great ideas. Today I want to show you how to make a bandsaw box. A little different procedure than most bandsaw boxes are made. They're kind of a fun project. They're basically quite fast and you can make some neat things and neat shapes, etc. I just happen to have this piece of timber here. It's a fairly thick, heavy piece, so I'm just going to make a fairly simple shape here. I've just drawn it out perfectly round. Then I've drawn in here where my drawers are going to be. I'm going to have 3 drawers on each side of this circle here. So, and I've just kind of planned it out, penciled it in where the drawers are going to be there. And yeah, so this is a little different method, but you may find it interesting. You may like to do something like that, because part of the problem of bandsaw boxes is cutting out the slugs for the drawers there. So I solved a whole lot of problems with doing it this method. However, you can't be quite as creative. It's basically a symmetrical type project in this case, but you'll find it interesting. So the first thing I'm going to do, which seems a little odd, I'm not going to cut out the shape, but I'm going to split it in half on the table saw. So I'll go ahead and do that and then start doing some work on it there and show you pictures and come back later. Well, that was quick and easy. Cut that out and I've sanded it round on a disc sander there. So then you can see now where my drawers are going to be there, and being that I've split it in half, it's very easy to cut those pieces out. This one, the one here with the round circle there, I hope I can make that radius here. Just going to use a regular bandsaw. I've got a little smaller than the one that I used to cut the outside. And I'll work on it. I'll cut all those shapes out now, and you can see what I'm going to do. And then once those pieces are out, then I'll cut the drawer section out. Okay, I've cut all the pieces out for the drawers here, and you can see them there if I pull that away. So our next step, it's just a typical now bandsaw box, is I take each segment and cut the front off and cut the back off for a back on each of them. And again, I've numbered them. I don't know if you can see that there, but this side is numbered 1 through 3. This side is numbered A through C. So, and you have to keep numbering your parts as you go along so you don't get them mixed up, and it makes things faster and quicker in the end there. So anyway, I'll go ahead and cut the fronts and backs off all of them, and once I got that done, then I can cut the shape of the drawer out of that leftover piece. Okay, I've got one set of drawers all marked and cut out. As I said before, standard bandsaw boxes, you cut the ends off, and then they'll be glued back on, and you cut the center out there. So since this is in 2 pieces here, you want to make sure that you get the top. So I've got these laid out with a T on the top of here and a T on the top of here. Those drawers are all done. Now I'm just going to mark this on here, the shape of the cutout here. If I get that just approximately done, I'll have the drawers so they open with a top is to the right direction. It's really easy if you don't take time to mark it out that you can get a drawer that's upside down. Okay. I've got those in place and all numbered in the right spot. And I'm confident now that when I cut this side out, I'll have the tops of the drawers all in the right place. Okay, so I'll do that, and then I'm going to glue all these together and come back tomorrow and work on it. I thought a better update before I get too far along here. I've got all the drawers cut out that I demonstrated in the previous segment there. You can see how these are now. They're you just have to, once you get the center section cut out, then it's just a matter of gluing the front and back on. And of course, I stress very much about numbering everything so you get the right parts with the right piece. And also get it so your drawers open towards the top. Because I could have taken this and cut the bottom out for the drawer, and of course then it's upside down. So I've got those done, and did some sanding on those, getting them to fit. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I've cut these thin pieces of metal, wood, and that's going to be a back. So the next step will be to make a back. So your little cabinet has a back there. That makes it easy to do. And then I'll basically finish sanding and fitting, and then I'll be joining these two together. I want to show you my sander here. It attaches to the lathe here just with a little coupler here, super simple, supported by the tailstock here. If you don't have some sort of sander, this sander is one of the most useful sanders that I've used, even much better than the commercial ones. It just pops onto the lathe. It's super simple to build. If you go back into my videos, you'll find a number of videos showing exactly how to build one of these things. They just work so simple. One of the advantages is not the high speed that a lot of the commercial ones run on. You can run this one at any speed right off your lathe, or if you attach a motor. I've also got videos on how to build them and attach to its own motor, and that works well too. But I find it extremely easy. Useful on all projects that you do. Well, this is wrapping up fairly quickly to the finishing stage. I've got the backs, of course, on. That doesn't fall out anymore. There we go. The back has been put on and sanded. I showed you doing that on that sander that I have there. And you can see how this thing is going to work. This is going to be the base that holds it on. This is just stuck in here just to show you how that will go together. But these will be glued now onto the side there, and one on this side, one on that side. So very easy to do. That'll just lay down, and we'll just put those in there and clamp it, and it'll be all done there. And then again, using then that'll be smoothed off nice and flush, and also on the back there. So I guess I'm about ready to glue that together, and then we'll work on, and that's about it. Just the last sanding to do. Well, here's my basically completed bandsaw box. A little different design. It maybe not allows it to be, may not allow you to be quite as creative in the shapes and stuff, but I'm sure it could be adapted to all kinds of shapes. This is just round, and you could do all sorts of things. Well, wouldn't you know it? After all the warning I had about mark everything, mark top, mark side, whatever, mark pieces. Then when I glued the piece together, which I showed you in the last segment, I glued it upside down. So then all my drawers would be upside down. That's not good. So the glue had set and I couldn't get it apart. And what am I going to do? Well, I thought, why not just use dowels? So I put in a couple dowels and suspended it with dowels there. And that would work too, and it has its advantage. It looks like it's more suspended in that, and quite happy with that. I'm glad I ended up putting it upside down, but it would have been a little easier to do it the other way. Anyway, I've got the finishing part now, and inside of the drawers I'll be flocking that. I'll probably show you when I flock those as well to give that nice surface. Being it's bandsaw cut, you don't want to sand a whole lot in there. Just cleaned it up a little bit with a file, and then the flocking will even it all up and make it look first class. So anyway, stay tuned and we'll show you the finished product. Okay, I've got the bandsaw box all finished and that finish put on there, so I'm just going to give you a real quick demonstration on putting the flocking in there. If you go back into my videos, there is one specific to flocking, but since you're watching this, why not do just a little quick. You need a few supplies. One is flocking. You can buy that in different stores, I guess, and I'm going to use paint for the adhesive, and then you have an applicator, and when it pushes the flocking out, and I'm using a plastic container to contain it there. So you have to, I've already painted this once, but it soaks up the paint. So you got to have a nice thick smooth coating of paint, no dry spots, otherwise it won't do it. So to make it faster, I've just painted it once, and now go over it again and get it all wet right into the corners. Don't leave big lumps of paint, but so it's completely done. And then all you do is put it into some sort of container and use your flocking machine. And you can't get too much in there, because what you do once it's coated, you just dump excess out, and then when you're done, you put this back into the bag. So that's all there is to it. Flip, flip, zip, zip, and you're done, and you got a really nice surface. Well, thanks for staying with me this far to see this finished product. I'm rather kind of pleased with it. It turned out fairly well. And as I mentioned to you, I went and glued this, when I glued the two halves together, I glued it together upside down, so all my drawers were upside down. But so I cut that off and put little posts there. This design could be adapted different ways for a base. Whatever top you want, come right down to the bottom here, like maybe like the old style clock if you wanted it round, or any type of base that would be part of the bandsaw box there. For the pulls here, I had some large earrings that I bought for this type of project. I find that kind of works quite easy. Instead of making your own there, that would match. But so these just give you a little close-up of that. They're colored. I had this set that I got that was different kinds, and then the inner part is just drilled a little hole, put it right through, put the little keeper back on there. But then I found out after I did some, it doesn't hold very well, so I had to put a little dab of crazy glue in there. And also on these particular ones, I because of the taper that you see going down there, I took a countersated a little V hole, and then with some crazy glue in there, pushed it in, and now they're a lot solider. Other than that, they were quite easy to pull off. But anyway, it's a quick way to do that. And I included the video on the flocking in there, and by painting it and then going over and painting it again, this is the best one that I've ever done. There's no dry spots where there's hardly any glue. They just look totally velvety all over, so I'm really pleased with those. So I did the purple on one side and the royal blue on the other side there. And then sometimes I got a little bit of paint up here. I just took sandpaper and slightly cleaned that off, and then took it to the buffer. So this project's been done with wipe-on poly, and then I've buffed it with a cloth wheel there, so it's just slick and smooth, very nice there. On this box, this was the first one I did. I tried cutting, I thought, well, I'll cut the back off on the table saw. That wasn't a very good idea at all. So I went back to the bandsaw, so it ended up a little bit shorter. And here's a good idea too. When you build a bandsaw box, you want to keep them flush on the thing. Just use some sticky tape, that thick mounting tape or whatever it is. I don't know. It came in with some project or something I bought. They were included in there. That worked ideal. So this is the only one that I have that problem with. Another trick here, when you do a bandsaw box, you take out wood. So when you put the box in here, it sets down and you have a big gap on top. That one has a little bit bigger. So what I do is I take a piece of tape. You can use Gorilla Tape, but I didn't see my Gorilla Tape, so I used duct tape. Just put duct tape on the bottom, raises it up a little bit, and the project looks a little good. You never will see that and when you take the box out, because it's underneath there. So I did that on all of them. Took 2 layers of duct tape where the Gorilla Tape would just take 1 layer. And they slide really nice, really nice. So with this type of bandsaw box where you split it in half, it's easy to cut your boxes out there. It's just another way of doing that, and you can come up with some interesting designs on that too. But anyway, I thought I'd like to share that idea with you, and maybe somebody will give it a try and make up a box using that method where it's cut down the center. 2 halves would be glued back together after the drawers are cut out. Other than that, it's just a traditional bandsaw box. The back, I glued a piece of wood right on it, on each half before I put it together there. So it's got a full back. If you didn't have the back on there, you could push your drawers out from the back, but then they could flop around so much more. I kind of like a back on it there. Anyway, thanks for watching, and subscribe. I'll have more good ideas different times with different things, not always woodwork. It could be metalwork. I'm just in the process of building another big wood lathe for somebody. I'll be putting that on eventually. So you'll have to stay tuned and see how you can build your own wood lathe. That's as good, if better, than what you buy, and for a fraction of the cost. So see you next time.